This episode is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors at Griffin Air Conditioning. Visit them at griffinair.com.au. The great ones, they're different. They really are. Not better, just different. Sure, there's a physical power, a mental strength, a complex but resolute constitution too. There's a whole lot more than just the measurables. That's something else, that intangible. It separates us from them. Welcome to the Legends series on Andy Raymond Unfiltered. This one, he's a record breaker, a four-club man who has also worn sky blue and our green and gold. It's not the complete story. Get the feeling, though, his last chapter will be a beauty. But who is Josh Morris?
I'm a family man, first and foremost. Family's played a big part in my life. Especially my mother. She's been a central figure throughout my whole life. Supported me and Brett and chasing our dreams. The sacrifices she had to make to take us to football carnivals and put up money for us to go on football trips away when we didn't have much, and looking after four children at the same time. And then so I've had those deep family roots, and now I've got my own family. I've got a little girl who's got me wrapped around her little finger. She's nearly 3 years old, and a little boy who's 7 months old. So, I'm just a normal bloke. I don't mind having a punt and a beer on the weekends when I have time. But, just like relaxing and spending time with family and friends away from football.
Lovely you acknowledge your mum immediately because Dad played, much of the attention of Brett and Josh Morris has been around Steve Morris, the father.
Yeah, it has, and we've grown up with that and had those comparisons, throughout our whole career. But one thing we wanted to do was create our own path. I think we've certainly achieved that.
Yep.
Also, bring light to the fact that Mum is one of the most important people in our lives, and what she did for our family, and as I said, all those sacrifices she made. And having to look after four kids, I don't know how she did it. Sometimes I struggle with just my little two. So, it's a massive effort from her to raise us, and I think she raised us right as well. The right values, and that's kept us in good stead throughout our life and our football career.
How would you describe you and Brett as kids?
Oh, mate. Kids are horrible. I don't think anyone would have wanted us. We set the kitchen on fire on my older brother's first day of football. So he was late to his first ever footy game by putting newspapers on the stove. We were 3 years old. So who knows how to do that? We've pulled apart toilets and flooded the top floor, and it went down through to the bottom floor. Knocked doors off hinges, holes in walls. Whatever you can think of, we probably did as young kids. Yeah. And then I think as we got older, we got a whole lot better. Teenage years were pretty good, and now we're angels, mate.
Best mates, is it that type of bond, or is it good mates and give me some space, please, mate?
Nah, it's best mates. I think everyone can see that, how close we are. Brett only lives 800 metres down the road from me. Our families are very close, and it's been tough being in this bubble. We haven't been able to spend as much time as families together, but it's good that I get to see Brett every day, or most days, heading to training, and we are best mates, and that's a bond that will never be broken.
You're the best looking, nicest, fastest and fittest of the brothers, no doubt. Who's the oldest, and what do they say about the oldest twin?
I'm the oldest. I'm 10 minutes older, so that's why I always say I'm the fastest.
Yep.
I won the race out. So, no, I don't know I guess what Brett always says about me is I'm the louder of the two.
Yeah.
Normally, when we walk in a room, people can tell which one's which pretty easily because I'm normally the loud one and normally say something stupid and he just looks at me and shakes his head. I've always done his talking for him from a young age. He's always pretty shy and I was always more outgoing and I guess that's just stuck the whole way through.
What's similar about you two as men and what's different?
I think obviously what I spoke about before, the family values. We've both got our own families now and, we're very strong on that and, love our families deeply and, we'll do anything for them. Differences, probably, like I said, Brett's probably a little bit quieter, but, he's a very strong moral person. If he believes in something, he'll see it his way and there isn't much wiggle room, whereas I'm probably a little bit more flexible and can see both sides of an argument. So, but that's something that I admire about him as well. He has very strong convictions and you can't help but admire that.
Let's talk footy. On March 18, 2007, your dream came true. You became an NRL player, making your debut for the Dragons against the Titans at Suncorp Stadium. It's always going to be a special day. How special was it?
Yeah, it was a massive day. It was the Titans' first ever game. They normally played out at Carrara, I think it was back then, which was an AFL ground. But for the first game, they wanted to make it a really big occasion and played it up at Suncorp on, I think it was a Sunday afternoon. And
it was.
I was playing fullback. I was about 90 kilo back then, so I've eaten a lot of food and drank a lot of beers in between now and then. But it was a really hot day. I was pretty nervous when the first bomb got put up, and but we managed to win that day. And I had, Brett was there. Brett was injured. He hurt himself in a trial, so he didn't play that game. And then I had my mum, my sister, and my brother all there. And it was a nice moment for the family. And as I said, we got the win, and it was a good start.
Brett had already debuted the previous year. Having him there in those early days of your grade football, how much easier did that make?
I think, it was very easy. I watched. He had nearly 20 games of experience by the time I'd played my first game. So, I was able to ask him questions about, what it was like, the intensity, the contact side of it, any tips attacking wise that he could give me. But, I think I set it up with a really good preseason as well. We're very lucky that, we're pretty similar in everything. And, we had that drive to, whenever we did any kind of fitness drills, that we wanted to be 1 and 2 in it. And, we've had that pretty much throughout our whole career. And I think that gave me the best preparation possible to go out and play first grade for sure.
You're listening to Andy Raymond Unfiltered. Check out the website, andyraymondunfiltered.com.au. Us non-twins, we hear about the twins can sense, they know, they feel, etc. about the other. True or bullshit?
I think it's a bit of bullshit, but there are occasions where I will go to text Brett and go to ask him about training or something like that. And as I'm texting him, he'll text me back about training. Wow. So, so there's a little bit there. And I think, on the field it may look like there is that as well, but I guess that's from years of practice on the training paddock together out in the backyard together, and it may look like we know exactly what each other's thinking, but we've spent so much time together. We know what strengths and weaknesses are, and we feed off that.
Backyard footy at the Morris household. Were you guys always on the same side or on opposing sides?
No, if we played against our older brother, he was 4 years older than us, so it was always me and Brett versus him.
Yeah.
And then got to a stage where he gave up after a while, because we used to play on. We had the road, and then we had grass either side, and we'd have about a 30-metre field. But me and Brett would just kick it across to one another and make him chase us until we scored. And after about 4, 5, 6 times doing that, he just gave up. But then we had a couple of mates, and it was always me and Brett against each other, and one mate against the other mate.
Yep.
And we used to G up the other mates to try and get one over each other, and normally it'd end up in tears. But we just played footy every day, no matter what the weather was like. It was just every afternoon, every morning before school. It was just footy, footy, footy.
Once you debuted, it all happened really quickly. A few games later, you played for country in your first rep game. By the end of the following year, you'd represented Australia in the PM's 13. It did happen quickly. Did it feel like it was happening at an amazing rate?
Yeah, it did. Obviously playing in the city country game, that was, I think, after 6 or 7 games, and Craig Bellamy was the coach, and I remember speaking to him and asked him why he picked me, and I was, as I said, I was playing fullback that first year, and I still remember the game that we played them at Oakey Jubilee. They bombed me all night, and they hit me pretty much every time I caught the ball, and I didn't drop one, but after the game I was battered and bruised, and I think he really respected that and saw that I was a competitor, and that I didn't take a backward step, and he picked me from there. And then, as you said, I made the PM's 13 in 2008. We had a up and down season. I think we finished 8th that year with the Dragons, but I played every position pretty much in the back line that year, and scored a fair few tries as well. So I was able to show my versatility, and that got me probably into that side. And then it was pretty quick. And then the year after, debuted in Origin with Craig as the coach.
You never appeared to get ahead of yourself, and I've known you since the beginning. How did you, or how do you, remain grounded? Because not everyone can or does. Success can be a real pitfall for a lot of young athletes.
I think it comes back to family, mate.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to keep your circle small, and trust the opinions of few people rather than lots of people.
Yep.
The person down the street's going to praise you when you have a good game, but they're probably not going to bag you as much. But when you have a bad game or something like that, you go to those people like your mum, and obviously having Brett there as well. They're two people that will always give me an honest appraisal of my game, and sometimes when I think I'm going better than what I am, they'll chip me about something. So as I said, you keep your circle small, and trust those opinions of your family members, and that certainly helps you keep grounded.
You're still fresh-faced, but you're a veteran, let's face it. If you were talking to an 18-year-old, what advice would you give him about the early years of his football journey from your experience?
I guess just be good to people. It's a privilege to play this sport. I get paid to do something that I love, something that I've done for a very long time, and I've been able to travel the world, see some places that I may never have got to have seen by playing football. But the fans are the ones that make the game so great. You're just a custodian of that jersey. The fans are always going to be there to support the team, and just give them, a little bit of time, and always be polite, and they'll always respect you for that, and keep trying your hardest.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the scoreline is. As I said, me and Brett have been competitive our whole lives, and that goes on the field as well. We want to go in and put our best performance in every week, and if you do that week in, week out, well then you're certainly in a lot of respect doing that.
Josh, you moved from the Dragons to the Bulldogs for the 2009 season. How did it come about, and did it hurt? I'm thinking you're a South Coast boy, and assuming all you wanted to do was represent the local side, which was the Dragons.
Yeah, at that stage, I probably thought I was going to play out my whole career at the Dragons with Brett alongside me. You just think that that's going to happen. And then Brownie was the coach, and I was about to sign a new deal with him, and then Brownie got sacked, and Wayne came in, and I was actually playing golf, and I got a phone call off my manager, and he pretty much said that the deal had been halved that I was about to sign, and
wow.
That really rattled me. And then after that, it was about, well, I think I'm a centre. I think that's where I can play my best footy. It was about where could I become a centre at, and at that stage, the Roosters were interested. Freddie was taking over as coach, and he was genuine about his interest. But then Anthony Minicello got injured, and they re-signed a couple of younger players, and that option got taken off the table pretty quickly. And at that stage, I'd also been at the Bulldogs, and Kevin Moore was coming in as the new coach. And I went there and was really impressed by the setup, and just spoke to him, and he said, that I think you're a centre. I want to play you there for the next 2 seasons. I'm not going to drop you if you have a bad game. I really think that that's your position, and I really want to see how you go. And that was enough for me to pretty much sign there and then. To have a coach's support like that, and the backing, he obviously saw some potential there, and funnily enough, the next year, I was awarded Dally M Centre of the Year, and had one of my best seasons. It was funny how things work out, and I spent 10 great years there at the Dogs as well.
Griffin Air Conditioning offers the highest quality of air conditioning sales and service across the Sydney metropolitan area, providing installation and maintenance to commercial, domestic and industrial customers. Working with this team, you'll be guaranteed the latest services, technology and developments in the industry. Visit griffinair.com.au and tell them we sent you for a cool deal. What are the standout memories from the early years at the Bulldogs? Because it was a wonderful decade you had there.
Yeah, I think the first year that I got there, they'd just come off a wooden spoon. They signed myself, Mick Ennis, Ben Hannett, Michael Hodgson, Greg Eastwood and David Stagg. So they'd gone out and recruited people, but they had recruited good people, family people, and you had blokes like Bobcat, General, and they signed Noddy as well. So you had blokes like Bobcat and General, Noddy, older, experienced guys, but then you had young guys as well. And there was just a really good mix there. And we played a really attacking style of football, but our defence was really good as well. And that was probably one of the most enjoyable seasons that I had as well. And we were unlucky to get beaten in the prelim final. That's when Jared Hayne was at his damaging best, and I got no doubt that if we'd won that game, that we would have challenged the Storm right to the end in that grand final, if not won.
I'd love a player's perspective on this, but I often look back at 2009 and that Jared Hayne run and say to people, we will remember this forever. Have you ever seen a player as white hot as that for such a long time?
Yeah, it was yeah, it was pretty crazy just watching some of those performances that he had. He was able to completely change the momentum of games with one play, and the boys would jump on the back of that, and then he really inspired that team, and like I said, just the momentum they had heading into that final series, they were going to be hard to stop, and it was all because of one man.
2012, 2014, grand final losses, first to the Storm, then the Rabbitohs. What do you recall of those two GFs?
Mate, they suck. It sucks losing. You've trained from November up until the first week in October, and there's no greater reward than winning a comp with your teammates and your squad that you've put all that blood, sweat, and tears and hard work into. And in 2012, we'd beaten the Storm a couple of times and were red hot favourites, and they were just too good on the day. They had a great game plan and come up with some little trick plays that caught us off guard. And after that game, I was pretty happy with my own performance. I don't think I could have done too much more after that performance. But in the 2014 grand final, I thought I could have done more and could have played better. So I was a lot more hollow after that defeat. And then, I guess, you are, after the game, you're just numb. The last thing you want to do is talk or think about footy for the next, 6 to 8 weeks. And you look over and you see the winning team, and, there's grown men crying, and, they're just ecstatic. And, you just want that feeling. You want it to be you. And, but you realise how hard it is to make a grand final, let alone win one. And you just want that shot again. You want to get that shot again and try and get one.
We just made a differentiation between being a fan and showing emotion and being a player and showing emotion. Can players still be fans of the game and fans of rugby league?
Yeah, definitely. I think most footy players are fans of the game. Yeah. I still watch a lot of the footy during the weekend, and I really enjoy watching some players play, and really like what they do and look forward to playing them as well. And I dare say that most footy players would be the same. We're not. Yes, we like winning. That's for sure. We're all competitive. We like winning, but it's good to see young kids come through and get an opportunity and then make the most of it. And there's so many stories in rugby league about kids coming from tough upbringings and being able to buy their mother a house, or help their family out, or a brother or sister that's sick or dealing with something. There's so many of those stories, and I really enjoy that side of the game as well.
We'll rewind to your rep career for a moment. In 2009, you made your Origin debut and your Test debut. Origin was Game 2 at ANZ, and the Rouge jersey was yours. I think it was round 3 of the Four Nations in France. Those two jerseys, same feeling, same sense of achievement or pride, or different feelings?
No, I think they are the same feeling. Origin is probably the pinnacle in terms of the intensity of football. But every kid wants to play for Australia who plays rugby league, and that was no different. And, my Origin debut was probably the only time I've ever come off the bench. I wasn't really nervous until they called me off the bench, and then I was actually like, oh shit, I'm going on here. I got to try and get up to the pace of the game, and so I played about half an hour in that game, and then Game 3 I started in the centre, so that was my first actual start. But playing Test footy as well, debuted against France, and being able to do that with Brett when the national anthem's playing, you're standing there. Both got Australian jerseys on. it's pretty special to have one person in your family play for Australia, but to have three do it in your family, and to have your twin brother do it alongside you, I still remember that feeling, and it was awesome.
You're listening to Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Legends series. We have corporate and private sponsorship packages available. You set the terms. For further information on how you can become part of the team, go to the website andyraymondunfiltered.com.au and hit the sponsorship tab. That touring party for the Four Nations, some pretty fair centres around, guys named Inglis, Hodges and Jennings. What did you learn from older players like that at the time?
I guess, they knew how to win games. Whether it be Origin or Test footy, in the big moments they stood up and they wanted the ball. And I guess as a young fella, you see that, and then you try and go back and do the same thing. And but you see their training habits as well. And not only that, a bloke like JT and Lockie as well. You see those blokes and how hard they work on the training paddock, and it's no fluke that they got to where they were. So you take those lessons and then you take them back to clubland and try and do it yourself and become the best version of yourself.
In rep sides, it's traditional that two players room together. Was Brett always your roomie?
No, not always. I had Trent Waterhouse as my first roomie on tour. He was a pretty good roomie. We enjoyed a beer, so that was good. He was good value. Probably the deepest voice in rugby league at that stage. But no, I had Brett on the next tour, and then in Origins, mainly it was Brett. So I guess we're just comfortable with each other, and some people are particular who they want, but we didn't care if we were with each other or without. It was just, I think they just put us together for the sake of it.
Made it easy.
Yeah.
2014, you hurt your knee in Origin. Queensland made a break. You got to your feet, chased, tackled, stopped it. Many suggest that defines you as a footballer, your heart, your commitment and your passion. You happy with that?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's just that competitiveness as well. And also, I knew the situation that was at hand as well. Brett had broken his shoulder earlier in the match.
Yep.
And, I told him to stay on the field and push through it, and we'll get through it together. And I could see that they were coming towards that side of the field and knew that, he couldn't make that tackle if he had to. And it was just about getting up off the deck and going and helping him out more than anything. And then towards the end of the game, he pulled off a try saver in the corner using that shoulder. So that was probably one of the toughest games of footy I've been involved with. There was a lot of hype being the 100th game. Artie Beetson had just passed, so they were retiring his jersey. And, we were on the back of 8 series defeats, and we'd spoke about doing whatever it took to get the win up there. And there were blokes like Anthony Watmow played with a torn bicep, and Bo Scott after that match got into the dressing rooms and collapsed. That was how hard that game was, and we did whatever it took to get that win, and then the boys were able to go down to Sydney and get the job done. And I'd like to think me and Brett had a big hand in that.
Every player in every game has a coming of age. Was that a coming of age game for both you and Brett, with the commitment, the toughness and the mindset that you showed? Because it's something people look back on very, very fondly.
I guess you could look at it that way. I've never really thought about it like that. But, there are a lot of people that pull us up and do remember that. And it's certainly something we remember as well. And I remember after the game, me hobbling around and Brett getting up to the bedroom and propping up all his pillows. And I think, we went to bed. We got back to the hotel probably after midnight and laid in bed, but we probably didn't get to sleep till 6 o'clock in the morning, and then our alarms went at 6:30 to get ready to go to the airport. And the noises we both made when we went to get out of bed, we just started laughing our heads off at each other. And although we were in a lot of pain, we could both see the funny side of it.
The miracle of that play of yours was you didn't get penalised for being offside, but you were 30 metres offside. I've never been able to figure that out.
No, I ran 10 to get back onside, mate.
That must be it. Let's fast forward a few years to 2018. You have to leave the Dogs. You both left together and went your separate ways. Did that hurt at that time in your career, or can you relatively easily distinguish personal and professional?
No, it definitely hurt. For myself, I've been there for 10 years and, would have liked to have finished my career there, but there was obviously a lot of issues going on with the salary cap. We'd seen players let go before that. And then, the club wasn't in a position to offer a deal to either of us. So we knew pretty early on that, that was going to be our last year together. And then it was about, are we still, good enough to play in the NRL, or is that time in the NRL and go over to England and try a hand over there? And, at that stage, Cronulla lost Jesse to Newcastle and Ricky Latelli signed a big deal with the Wolfpack. So they lost two centres pretty quick. It just kind of fell into position there. The other option was Gold Coast as well. I had offers from them, but I've lived in Cronulla the last 10 years, and that really worked well. And I was happy to head there. And Brett, got a call from Trent and had a meeting with him and was really impressed and signed with the Roosters.
If you're enjoying Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Legends series, we'd love for you to go to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening and subscribe to the podcast and give us a 5-star rating and review. Best weekly review wins an Unfiltered Trucker's hat. You mentioned there you doubted if you still had it to play in the NRL or if it was time for England. Are you a guy that struggles with self-doubt?
No, I don't think so. You do get it from time to time, but like I said, I've had a pretty good sounding board in Brett, and he'll always be honest with me. And although we weren't the most competitive team in 18 with the Dogs, I still think that we were playing decent enough footy, and it was probably a good thing. The change probably freshened me up and gave me a bit more of a lease. And I didn't. I guess I signed there for 2 years and thought, all right, I'll give it my best for the next 2 years and see how we go.
Coaches at club level, you've had Kevin Moore, Jimmy Dimmick, Crazy Des, Dean Pay, Johnny Morris, now Trent Robinson. How different or how similar are coaches and setups from one club to the other?
I think they're all different.
Yep.
And I think it's changed over time as well. I think the sports science has played a lot more of a role these days in recovery as well. I think when I first started, you were able to play, then you'd go have a beer on a Saturday night, you'd train on Monday, and you'd be doing fitness on the Monday. And these days it's all about recovery and making sure your body's right to go by kickoff. And some coaches are more into that sports sciences stuff. Desi was heavy into that.
Loves it.
He'd have a lot of stats on that kind of stuff, and he'd have your heart rate monitor percentage your heart rate up on the scoreboard some days. So no one could hide. And if you weren't up in the 90% range, you were going to spend a bit more time in the cardio room and get flogged. But I think with the best coaches, I think it's their work ethic.
Yep.
They're normally the first one in the building and the last to leave, and the amount of study they do on the opposition and the game planning and stuff like that. The detail of it makes you feel like you know the opposition better than they know themselves sometimes, and that gives you a lot of confidence when you go out to play. And I think Desi was really good at that, and I think from what I've seen of Robbo so far, he's brilliant at it as well.
You played together at the Dragons and Bulldogs with Brett, but at this stage in your career, being able to play once again with the twin, how much more enjoyable does that make your job? Because footy's your job. How much more enjoyable is it, being able to do it together?
Oh, yeah, look, it's enjoyable, as you said, without him, but alongside him, it's a whole lot more enjoyable. We can go. We don't take ourselves too serious at times. So if one of us does something stupid on the footy field, we can still have a laugh at one another. But we just like training with each other and then going out on the field and trying to outdo one another. And we didn't think it would happen after we left the Bulldogs, and it was pretty unique circumstances for it to happen. Like Latrell was there and was unhappy, and then after Christmas transferred over to South, and then young Billy Smith went down with an ACL injury, and he was probably groomed for that left centre spot. And, at the time, the Sharks had some salary cap issues, and they'd already told me that I could look elsewhere, towards the back end of that season as well, having signed Jesse and, having young Bronson there as well. I was probably seen as, I'd probably be playing on the wing there. So, when that opportunity presented itself, it was, I would have been silly not to take it. I would have regretted it if I'd not pursued it. To be able to finish, our careers together, something that we'd spoken about as young kids, being able to play first grade together and then potentially finish together, and that was what held the most weight. Being able to do that and do that alongside Brett.
What's been the key to your longevity?
Mate, I guess it's just that competitiveness, that fire in the belly, and that dream of holding up that trophy at the end of the year. That's what gets me up every morning, gets me out on the field competing with the younger fellas. I want to taste that success, and that's one of my dreams, and I'll keep chasing it until my body gives up on me. And I think me and Brett, the competitiveness that we've had from that young age has kept us in good stead throughout our whole careers, and is still one of the main reasons why we're able to do what we do.
Plenty would suggest you're playing your best footy at this age, this year. Do you agree or disagree?
I probably agree. I think I'm more well-rounded. I think my skill set's a lot better than what it has been, and I've worked hard on that the last few years, and I've always really enjoyed the defensive side of the game as well. So that was something that I made a conscious decision of when I was younger. To really work on the defence and be strong there, and then the attack. Everyone who plays NRL is a good attacker, so you got to be able to keep working on that, and I do a fair bit of stuff at training, to make sure that I can continue to do these things.
From the people I've spoken to at the Roosters, your role and Brett's role at the club is 50% on the field, 50% off the field in nurturing, assisting and helping the next generation. Is that something you're comfortable with and enjoy?
Yeah, I think it's something that I've been comfortable with probably the last 3 or 4 years, to be honest. As I said, I'm a fan of rugby league, and I really get a kick out of helping these young kids and trying to impart my knowledge onto them, and to see them come through and get their debut jersey. I really get a kick out of that, and then I look forward to the future for them as well. And I'm sure my kids will be asking for some of their signatures one day, and hopefully they're more than happy to oblige.
302 games currently, 146 tries. The next chapter, who knows? You've been a wonderful player and ambassador for Rugby League. Josh Morris, you, sir, are a legend. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Legends series. Throughout the month of September, we're dropping a new episode every third day. Be sure to subscribe to Andy Raymond Unfiltered wherever you're listening. And to ensure you don't miss any news on what's coming up, follow our social media pages at The Andy Raymond. Dropping Thursdays, starting October 1st, it's the Weekly Wodge. It's a little bit of this, plenty of that. A mix of the serious and the not-so. Interviews, segments, specials and special guests. If you enjoy the lighter side of the wonderful world of sport and fart jokes, you'll enjoy the Weekly Wodge. Come back soon, legends.